Hello. So welcome to Inside Someone Else's Notebook, because I'm really nosy and I like to see what other people do with their notebooks. Hi, I'm Michaela. I design notebooks. So that's why I like to see what other people do in them. I hand stitch them, hand paint them, and my trusty typewriter, Dorothy. This is Dorothy. There's Dorothy. She types whatever you want on the front. And so I'm starting this Inside Someone Else's Notebook series, so we can all be nosy and see what other people do in their notebooks and get inspiration and ideas as well. So today I've got with me Eve Sturdy from Sturdy Socials and Design. She offers social media support, graphic design and content creation for small businesses, and she's a self-confessed stationery nerd and tea lover. So neither of us are very often seen without a cup of tea and some bickies, but I've eaten my bickies already. So hi, Eve. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me and letting people have a sneak peek in your notebooks and just talking about how you use them, because it feels like quite unusual as somebody who works in the online world to be going straight to a notebook rather than going straight into the screen. So I'd love for you to talk about how that sort of happens and why it's better for you to start in a notebook rather than starting in whatever software you use for typing stuff, Google Docs, whatever.
Google Docs, yeah. Google
Yeah.
Docs and Word and all the rest. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have loved stationery since I was a little girl and have always sent postcards and always loved stickers. And so it's really carried on throughout my life. Before I did what I do now, I was a wedding coordinator. So I used a lot of notebooks and things as well. I used to take notes on all of my appointments. So it's followed through from that. I've never really lost that love of writing things down first. I still transfer everything more or less to digital formats, but I actually find that when I write things in a notebook, it's the first draft. I'll write it in a notebook, then as I'm typing it up, I'll be editing it as I go, which actually makes the piece normally a bit more coherent. Not always, but normally. So that's why I find I use an ink pen as well. So I also have a pencil case, but my current favorite is, and I will pronounce this wrong probably, Kaweco, but it's really nice to write with. And I find that as I'm writing, the ideas flow along with the ink. So it's the flow of the ink, the flow of the ideas, it all naturally follows on. Whereas typing, I touch type, but I still spend a lot of time pressing delete. I think that's what draws me to the page more, because I can just put a quick line through it and carry on. Whereas tapping delete spoils my flow, if that makes sense.
And do you find you have when I'm doing stuff like that in a notebook, I find I have like lots of brackets and lots of arrows, and although this bit would go here,
Yes.
and you can formulate it a little bit on the page.
Yes, and lots of little arrows up with extra sentences written above, because that needs to go in there. Yeah. I have a lot of that and always have. I primarily use blue ink as well, because then I can use eraser. Although in notebooks, I rarely do. I just cross and keep going. But it only works on the blue ink, so it doesn't work so well on the multicolored inks I also have. So therefore, this is going to be okay, and I've already drafted it. I can write that in this color. But yeah, it's just, and I think I'll always start when I go for an in-person meeting with clients as well. I'll always take a notebook with me. We may do things digitally as well, but I'll always have that to quickly scribble a note. And I prefer that over maybe making notes in my phone, which I know a lot of people do that now instead. But it's just something about paper. I just really like it. So
you can't touch a screen in quite the same way. It doesn't feel the same, does it?
No, and I tried, because I have an iPad, so I tried doing the whole planner digital, taking notes and things, but I just couldn't get on with that. It either didn't recognize my writing, or it just yeah it just didn't flow as well. I mean, so I couldn't get on with that. And I think we spend a lot of time on our screens anyway. That's just modern life. We can't really get away from that if you work in the digital industry especially. But it's nice to come away from that occasionally and come away from the screen. I can sit on the sofa while my little boy is playing and I can write notes, and the notebook is much much more transportable than my PC anyway. I don't want to
Oh, yeah.
lug that around the house with me. And I think I used to keep a diary when I was younger. I don't now, but I occasionally journal. Very occasionally. It's generally just me colouring in, to be honest. But it's just, I think I just really love paper, the stationery. It's a process. And I think it's similar for me as the process of making a cup of tea. If something is going wrong in a piece of work that I'm doing, I go off and make a cup of tea in a pot. And the process, even if I don't drink the cup of tea, the process of making the pot of tea calms me down and makes my brain just sort out the problem in its own way. And then I'll come back down and resolve it. Sometimes when I can't get to grips with writing a piece of content on directly onto the computer, if I take a notebook out or just a blank piece of paper and start scribbling away, it generally is much easier for me. So
Somehow sorts itself out on the page.
Yeah. Sometimes it's because I'll do a mind map, and that's much quicker and easier to.
Yeah.
You've not got to form a sentence. You're just writing words around one central word, and that really helps me. Sometimes,
and that wouldn't make sense on the screen, would it?
No, and I know you can get programs, can't you, that will do that. I think Miro is one that's quite good for that. But again, I just can't. I don't get to use my coloured pens if I do it on the screen.
No.
You know.
And I guess with a notebook, you can fairly easily pick up a notebook and look back. If you're in the middle of a project, you can look back at stuff that you were doing, if it's a big project especially, or if you're journaling for life, you can look back at it really easily. Whereas actually searching through folders on a computer is not nearly as nice, and that's just much harder to find things. Maybe that's just my filing system.
I know, I was going to say, remembering that you named it final.org or
yes,
final,
definitely final this time.
Definitely final, never going to do it again. Yeah, that option. It's just my filing is a bit sporadic. Yeah, I think that is it. And actually, sometimes just looking through a notebook, it brings back memories as well. It's quite nice because as well as the work, there's probably going to be some little note that says, remember to pick up this for tea, or something else that's happened during the week that I'll have made a little note of. So it's a bit like a journal, even though it's not. There are elements or there'll be particular clients that I've worked with that maybe I don't work with anymore. And it would be quite nice to think, oh, that was really fun. And it's tangible as well. I think that is a big thing for me, is that I can pick it up and it's got nice smooth pages, and it's got generally a bright front cover, and it's nice to look at. That probably also helps. All of those bits, mine are covered with stickers and page markers and washi tape and all sorts of things. Sometimes there's a random picture of my sons that'll have been popped in there as a bookmark for a minute, or just all of those bits that you don't get from working digitally. And that's why I love it.
And it's amazing what we do forget, isn't it? Like you were saying, you'll go through a book and be reminded of a project that was a while ago that it might spark something else, but also it might just be a happy memory. A customer wrote to me this week saying that she was gifted one of my books, and then she came and she bought a couple more, and she uses them as memory books. So she puts in things like of the kids and maybe world events. And she said that exactly that. It's amazing what we forget. And so she uses these as like memory books, and the kids absolutely love like going through them, and especially with kids because they change so quickly, don't they? She can see like how people have changed, but also suddenly remembering something like really insignificant, but at the time was like, oh, that is so lovely, whatever it may be. And then but it's really easy to forget, isn't it? And then so it's a nice little spark, isn't it, when you go back and see it again.
How many of us actually download and print any of the photographs that we take of our family or our holidays? Or not very many of us now. Maybe at Christmas when we suddenly need to do a calendar for a gift, or we're doing something with the grandparents or something, for me personally. But it's very rare. We mean to, but we don't. Whereas a notebook for me is a bit like that, in that it'll have a doodle, or maybe it'll be a brand new ink color that I haven't used before, and that'll have started appearing in the notebook. Or I use the front and back of my notebooks for different reasons as well. So the front The front idea is notes and to-do lists and client work, particularly in the notebook I use for work. And then the back will be maybe a quick note about a deadline or a date in the future that doesn't need to be in the front because I need to know where it is very quickly. So in the back, it's more of a quick date and a reference to what it is, and I use them differently. And then my personal notebook is more about my business, so the front is about my goals and what I'm going to do this quarter and inspiration, and then the back is quite often notes from courses that I might be doing along the way. So I do use the whole notebook, but for quite differently. And my sister is an illustrator and she is the same. She used to, it was almost like the front of the sketchbook was a bit too scary, and so she would use the back of the sketchbook quite a lot. My mum was the same. So I think, and I do that, I'm digressing now, but I find the front page of a notebook really intimidating, so I don't use it. I go on to the first double page spread instead, and I go back quite often later and I add either my contact details or my business card or some other pictures or something inspirational. I put that on the front of the notebook, the first page instead. But I find the first page, it's almost like when you were at school and you'd get a new exercise book and you'd have to try and write really neatly in the first page. And then after that, the whole thing was just like whatever. But the first page, the pressure of writing really neatly, I found that quite a lot. I remove that pressure now, and I don't use the first page for the traditional notes. I use it for a different reason, and that's helped me a lot. And I find the ideas immediately flow from the second page onwards. But
that's a really good idea, because also sometimes I'm going to start doing that, because sometimes actually that first page isn't enough anyway. If you want to get a load of stuff out of your head, just one page isn't, even if you've got a big notebook, you want a double page spread. Yeah, and also remove that thing like when we were chatting earlier, and I was saying that like, a lot of my customers would say, "Oh, I've got your notebooks, but I won't use them because they're so pretty. I don't use them, and I'll offer to come and spill coffee on them so that they're not pristine anymore." But I could offer that as an alternative than me going around and spilling coffee on it for them, to start in the middle. And also, I really liked what you said earlier on about using it horizontally.
Yeah, so
that's a good idea.
If you
are in landscape,
if you're doing a mind map, especially having a big page like that, sort of this page here is much easier, because you go out everywhere in every direction, don't you? And it almost stints the creativity. Is that the right word, or stunts it? But it makes it, if you're limiting the space that you have to write and figure out your ideas, then your ideas at some point will just have to stop because there's no more room. Whereas I find a landscape page gives me much more scope.
And you could consolidate it then on its mates, because otherwise, if you turn the page, you now can't see your mind map, can you?
No.
So actually, that's a really good idea. Turn it landscape, do a mind map on like the top page, and then underneath, you can start to pick through it and organize it a bit more, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think a lot of people, they think a notebook has to be used a certain way. And I think a lot of people are the same with a sketchbook. And if you speak to any artist and ask them to peek in their sketchbook, it will probably look nothing like you imagine a sketchbook to be. There'll be a drawing there, there'll be a list there, it's generally their creative process is exploded onto the page. And I think a lot of people think, oh, a notebook must be lines and lists and a certain way. Mine doesn't look like that at all. I'll try and find a picture of what that's not really there's a start of a thought here, and then there's another one there, and then there's a bit of a list there. It doesn't really flow in then the sort of normal like book way that we would think.
And then will you go back to those then? Will you go back to those and move that thought onto another page and develop it? How will that work now practically?
Yeah, so probably the first point will become a header on a next page, and then I'll write a list or an idea of that. And what it is, one of them is newsletter content ideas, and one of them is blog ideas, and one of them is hooks and mailing list titles. So I've obviously written those points down and gone, I can't think of any of those at the moment. So I'm going to move on to the third one, and then wrote a load of stuff. So sometimes the benefit again of having a notebook is that you can go back and revisit an idea much quicker than if you are typing on the computer, unless you leave space for you to go back and create some content later. You move forward, so you're not necessarily going back and rethinking about it. But yeah, I think people need to just have fun in their notebooks and not be afraid. And I think one of the questions you asked me earlier was about what advice would you give someone who wants to start using notebooks?
Yeah,
I love that
somebody
question.
who wants to. Yeah, somebody who wants to not be tied to their screen and not do what I take my laptop to the sofa and I call it my soffice, which is that's not very healthy. But if you don't want to be in your soffice, you want a notebook. Yeah, what advice would you give for somebody who wants to start doing that and to organize their ideas, get stuff down on their paper, but also then end up with a thing, because most of us have to do stuff online generally.
Online, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if you're using it to plan a project or something, don't overthink it. So maybe keep a notebook next to your desk to start with, and when you need to plan something, instead of reaching for the keyboard, reach for your notebook instead, and maybe get some brightly coloured pens or some post-it notes and write on those. Write with the brightly coloured pens, write on the post-it notes, stick them in the book, and just do the things that you can't easily do on a computer. So you can easily write a list, you can easily write a paragraph on the computer, but you can't maybe explore different words and phrases. And if you do it in post-it notes, that's quite fun because you can move them around as well.
Yes, that is a superpower of a post-it note.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a case of, if you're, say you were planning a website page and what your headers are going to be, but you don't know what the next bit, you don't know where the pages are going to link. If you made notes on post-it notes, you can easily swap them around, move them around, and it just gives you a bit more freedom. It allows you creativity to flow a bit better. And get a pile of magazines and cut some bits out that resonate with you, or images that inspire you, and pop them in your notebook as well. I think it's almost can be a bit of a scrapbook as well. It doesn't just have to be for to-do lists. Yeah, don't overthink it and have fun. Yeah, is what I would say.
Because images are great if you're planning something like decorating or holidays or something. You can put those in there then for inspiration and remember, and also like for reference and to remember. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted it to look like. Okay, exactly. And then move forward.
Yeah, and mood boards are brilliant ways of, especially if you've got a new client and they've got a particular color scheme or they've got a particular vibe that they're trying to portray, being able to get all of their ideas and put them on a mood board in your notebook so that you can keep referring to it and thinking, yes, that person wants their customers to feel this way. These images are reminding me about how the customer wants to feel. So I need to make sure that the content I write is also portraying that feeling. And I'm really visual. I am a very colourful maximalist, as you can probably tell. Sorry, my dog is just rolling around. Hello.
That's all right.
So he wants to be involved. So I think if I was handed a sheet or a document that was black and white, I would really struggle to read that and process the information. If it's got notes in the side, if it's got bright colours, if it's set into nice paragraphs that are quite easy with good headers and things like that, I find that a lot easier to break down the information that I'm processing. I do something similar in my notebooks. They will be headers with, I'm trying to find an example for you. So I've got headers and split up into different sections with different colours.
And different colours as well.
Yeah. And then I'll write, this is my goals for the year, but they're all in little sections again, so I can see easily rather than lots of long pieces of writing. So
it's easy for you to skim them then as well, isn't it? And especially if you're looking for something in particular, that's easy for you to find stuff as well, rather than pages and pages of just
exactly
text. I can see doggy's tail under the. What's your doggy's name? What's his
Bear.
Hi Bear.
Are you coming back? No, it's gone camera
No.
shy. No.
Oh,
Just
we'll
the
just
tail.
have to do with a glimpse of his tail.
So yeah, I find that really useful, and I would just encourage people to have fun and definitely invest in some washi tape.
Yes,
That makes it much more exciting.
that's actually a really quick way, isn't it, of getting, especially if you feel like, oh, I'm not very good at I don't want to draw anything, or don't have time, or I'm just not very. A lot of people think they're not creative. Everybody is
Yes,
creative, but
that's another
that's a
topic.
story for another day. But washi tape is a really good way of getting a really like big splash of colour, or like you were saying earlier on about like sticking a photograph or a postcard on there. You've got a nice big block of something visual and interesting.
Yeah.
And then there isn't so much space to be intimidated about writing in as well. I suppose that works like that as well.
Yes. The backs of envelopes, if you've received something that's in a brightly coloured envelope, stick that in there and it breaks it up. Layers of colour I use quite a lot. Just exploring what you can do in a notebook. You can do so much in a notebook that you can't do as easily online. I think notebooks can be so much more than just a space to write. I think it's really expressing your own creativity, and yeah, I think everybody should have one.
Yeah. So, right.
Obviously, yes.
So do things like a lot of people will make like spreads every month and then have habit trackers. Do you do like personal notebooks as well, where you're tracking habits or things that you're doing, or like your diary?
Yeah, so I have one that's already set up for me. So it's already made. It's called a Clever Fox planner. And I'm a big fan of a planner, again, because to pretend that you'll have control over your life, and use stickers and colourful things. And then America is full of the planners, isn't it? It's that everybody seems to love the big planners, but I've never really found one that does everything I want it to do for me. So this is why I have quite a few different things. Planners don't often have enough space for notes. So this one is beautiful orange, which is obviously going to be a winner. But it has a vision board section. So that's fun to stick it. So again, that's the kind of thing that I would put on the front page of a notebook if I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
Stickers and it's got a rather scary section that's what do I want my life to be at 20 years from now. So I've skipped over that bit. But
that is long term.
That's long term.
I don't know if my brain can compute that.
So this is the 3 months goals and then a mind map, and it's actually set out like that. You can write your goals for the quarter and then your mind map of what you're planning to do. And then the next page is the next month. And this is October, but planning what sort of more like a diary. And then it has a really nice review section at the end.
Oh, so you can look back on the quarter.
So you can look back. Yeah, I don't really do habit tracking as such because I've never really managed to get. It's another thing to do is record it. So this year I bought myself a lovely journal. I mean, it's yellow, so another on brand.
Nice.
Everything is on brand. And there's this lovely weather tracker section, which I attempted to fill in, then never managed to do because I did a few days in January when it snowed and when it rained. But it's really nice, this one, and it's all pre-filled out for you, so you've not got to draw on the habit trackers because there's lots of people do that, which is lovely. I just don't have
just fill it in.
The time to do.
You can just colour it in, get your pretty pens out and colour it in.
That's it. I've started April. Yes, so I attempted, but I'm not great at actually tracking my habits. I start and then so I need a habit tracker for my habit tracker.
Yeah.
So that's not great, but I really love colouring in. So that for me, when I've been working till God knows what time in the morning, because I'm a night owl, I find that unwinding by colouring in for 5-10 minutes is really good. Screens off, just colour in, and then off to bed. So yeah, I think lots of really beautiful notebooks I've seen that have beautiful habit trackers and all sorts, and they look lovely. I would love to be able to do that. I just don't have the time to do it currently. So I bought one that does it for me, which I still fail. So I think there maybe the lesson is that I'm just not aiming for that. But I really enjoy doing a layout in my notebook with washi tape and coloured pens, and sometimes I'll draft it on a piece of paper, even on a plain piece of white paper out of the printer, and I'll be like, I want the notebook to look like this, and sometimes I'll just free for all and go for it. So it does vary.
I used to spend ages doing spreads like each week so that I could have everything that I needed where I wanted it. Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I don't have time to do the making of the spreads. But
No.
yeah, it's a good way of getting your spread. Have a blank notebook and make it look how you want it to look.
Yeah, and I think that's why I really love plain paper in my notebook.
Yeah.
So I've tried dots, and they're not really for me. Grids just make me think of maths. And ruled or lined is fine, and I like that sometimes, but my writing's quite big. So actually, when I'm trying to fit it in the space, they don't always leave a very good, for me, they don't leave a big enough gap. So then it immediately looks really scruffy and messy. So I prefer blank so that I can do whatever I want with the notebook. I can stick pictures in, I can doodle, or I could add in lines myself if I wanted to. And I'm not afraid of the blank page in that instance. It's more freeing, I think, somehow, apart from the first page of a notebook, which we've already covered. Yeah, and I love everything to do with stationery, and I just really enjoy the buzz of a new notebook as well. I'm sad when one comes to an end, when I reach the last, well, it's generally the middle because I've gone from both sides, but when I reach the point where I can't use it anymore, I'm like, oh. But then there's the excitement of a new one, which probably isn't as dog-eared, and what stickers am I going to put on this one? And I tend to go for different colours as well, so that I can differentiate. Lots of people stick to the same colour throughout. That's not me. So no, I've got I had a lilac one last year. I think it's technically called blue hydrangea. It's a moleskin. And then this year I've gone for one called lemon green, which is vibrant, very lime green. But the one that I have for my business is this, which is called myrtle green, I think. But for me, it's
a nice green colour.
It is nice, yeah, and it looks really nice with orange, which is my favourite colour. Yeah, and I think having the different colours makes it a lot easier to know which one I'm picking up off the shelf.
Yes, because how many do you have on the go at any one time then? But one notebook is two notebooks, isn't it? Because you're using it from the front and the back, which I think that's a brilliant idea. You've got more chance of having the right notebook with you if you've got two notebooks in one.
Exactly. I used to have a notebook for every client, and that was so that I would, in theory, be more organised. But actually, it made it worse, because if I then forgot to take a notebook with me, that would be a disaster. So now I have a notebook for all of my clients, so I use it for all of the work and the to-do list, and I separate them by putting sort of notes in the tab to say this is for this piece of work is for that client. So I have, in total, I've got 4 on the go. I've got 2 notebooks, a planner, and the journal, which I've just shown you. So one is a notebook for notes and to-do lists for clients, and the other one is for my business. But yeah, I'm very guilty of starting another notebook for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that I want to. So
you just can.
I just can. And I have a few notebooks that they're just too pretty, and I don't want to use them yet in case I ruin them. One of them is yours.
Shall I come and spill coffee? I should have pre-spilled coffee on that before I sent it to you.
No, I promise. I promise I will use it. I will. I love it. And then I also have a big stash in storage of lovely notebooks. Some of them they're almost like a beautiful book. So I feel like they need to be used for something really good, and I just haven't thought of what that is yet. But I think I go through stages as well. I'll find a particular notebook style that I like, and at the moment it seems to be the moleskin one, because I like cream paper and bright colours, and it's quite a good size. I don't know if size of notebook makes a difference to me as well. A bit like diaries. Some people like quite little diary, and that is not little.
No.
It's huge. I like to have lots of space for my hand to rest on while I'm writing. I like a flat, are they called a flat lay? One that lies flat as opposed to a binder style, because again, it's just easier for when I'm sticking things in or when I'm using the whole page. It's much easier to use the space. Yeah, I think I've rambled and now I've forgotten what I'm rambling about.
That's okay. One of the things that you were talking about on when we were chatting before and on the board of stuff that you sent me was 2 books about using notebooks. One was called Notebook: A History of Writing, and one was called Don't Forget to Write. And I think I've heard of Notebook of a History of Writing, but I've not read them. If you read them, I'd love to know more about what are they about. I'd love to know more about those.
This
there we go.
Is the one.
Yes, I've definitely heard of that one, but I think I've looked at. I don't have it, but I haven't read it.
It's really good, and I haven't finished it yet. It's beautiful. It's a hardback, and it's at the moment I'm still in the sketchbook Florence, 1300 to 1500. So I'm quite early on in the journey.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because it really explains how sketchbooks came into being. At the moment, it's covering how paper became into being, but it's going to cover, hopefully, from pre-Renaissance Florence to a COVID-filled intensive care ward. So it's really covering the whole history of notebooks and how people used them, and how originally it was sort of merchants, and that's how they began, was because merchants needed a way of recording who they were selling to.
Okay, yeah, of course.
And then taxes and those sorts of things. And then I think what it ends up with is talking about how nurses use them, and how people used them to keep diaries, keep personal notes, and all those sort of things. So when I've finished reading it, I'll let you know. But it's really fascinating, but it's also it's very factual. So I read it in stints. And then the other one, it wasn't actually a book, it was an article written in The Lady, and I didn't actually read it. I just saw that somebody had pointed it out, but it's basic, and I've seen other things similar to it. It's basically saying that we need to encourage children, especially, to write letters, to create their own handwriting. To a lot of children now don't really have a handwriting style because they do everything online in schools and out of school. And it was saying we need to remember that if technology fails us, which occasionally it does,
we need to remember how to write.
We need to remember how to write. How are you going to leave a message for somebody? How are you going to be able to do anything like how write a list for going shopping, or writing a thank you note, or writing a letter to your accountant? But there's all of those sort of things, and I think and also writing for pleasure, writing, children being able to write down their thoughts and their feelings, and it was about that really, and just the importance of the written word. And I think that is, I have an 8-year-old, and I am encouraging him to write as much as possible outside of school, because I think school can only do so much, and it's often a very curriculum based and structured.
You're doing a writing challenge at the moment, aren't you? So we're recording this in April, and you're doing a letter writing challenge. What is that? Are you writing a letter every day in April?
I am aiming to write a letter every day, a letter or a card. Some of them are drafts to then write the next day, so it's not always about posting it on that day. But I love writing letters. I have always written thank you letters. I used to wind my sister up no end because I used to write my Christmas thank you letters on Boxing Day, and that really annoyed her. It was often because I got beautiful notepaper for Christmas, so I was using it. That was it was the plus. But I've always loved writing letters, postcards. We always used to write postcards to my grandparents when we were on holiday, and I can't go anywhere without feeling the urge to write a postcard just to my parents or somebody, just to say hello. It doesn't have to say very much. I think just the joy of receiving a letter or
Yeah.
a card through the post that you don't know is coming. Obviously, around your birthday, you're probably going to expect cards, or Christmas. Randomly in April, to receive a card through the post from somebody, it's just a bit of magic. It's just a bit of joy, and it gives me an excuse to use my rather large stationery hoard. But it was to encourage my son also to see that writing isn't a chore and it can be fun.
Yeah.
So he's doing a bit with me over the Easter holidays as well. But
And hopefully you'll get some letters back, because then you really will see the joy there as well, won't you? Because then often people will write back as well, and then you then get the really pretty envelope in the post as well that you're not expecting, that isn't bills.
I send, that's it. It's anything that isn't a bill or a piece of, currently it's election information that we're getting through, but sometimes it's lots of junk mail or sort of flyers and things. And it's just nice to get a letter personalized to you.
Yeah.
And I always love guessing who it's from by the handwriting. It used to be from the postcode stamp, but I don't think they do that as much now. It's, the joy of working out, oh, this is from my mum or this is from my gran. I always loved that. And I recently sent a letter to my niece, who is 3, and she was overjoyed. And the paper was really pretty with little animals and things on it as well. And I love that bit, as choosing the card for somebody and thinking, oh, they'll like this because it's a place they've been on holiday, or looks a bit like their house, or those sort of reasons as well. But I've written some prompts and then popped them on Instagram, and it's very loose list of just some ideas in case you get stuck. A bit like content ideas for Instagram. And it's just a bit of fun, really.
There's going to be lots of happy post winging its way across the country.
Yeah.
They stick out like a sore thumb, don't they, when you've got a lovely handwritten letter, because the envelope is not usually, it doesn't look like the others. Even if it's a white envelope, it doesn't look like the others anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And my envelopes are normally bright coloured anyway, or have stickers on the front, so you can normally tell when it's from me.
Oh, thank you so much for talking to me today. Where is the best place for people to find you if they want to see what you're doing, if they want to hear about the letter challenges? Because even if the letter challenge is finished, the prompts will still be there, presumably, on your Instagram.
They will. They'll be on my Instagram.
Do their own. They can do their own letter writing challenge. Where's the best place for people to come and find you?
So the best place to find me is on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Sturdy Socials and Design. And then you'll be able to find me. You'll be able to see, probably instantly recognize it as mine, because it'll be colours of orange and yellow and bright and maximalist and stationery heavy.
Very sturdy design when you look at your Instagram grid is beautifully designed, not like mine.
There's nothing wrong with yours. Hey, you have to own your Instagram.
Functional. I'm very functional at the moment. I can't manage the doing it and making it pretty, so I decided to just go with one. Let's just do it.
Yes, and that's what one of my posts recently was. Just post the post, because that's the most important thing.
Yes, it is.
But I've really enjoyed this, so thank you, Michaela. It's been really fun.
So much.